The worst feeling in the world isn't failure. It's getting exactly what you wanted and feeling nothing. You spent years on this thing. You sacrificed for it. You built your entire life around the day it would happen. And then it happened. And 48 hours later, you were already looking for the next thing. Here's what's strange about that. You weren't disappointed. You weren't ungrateful. You were just empty. And the emptiness didn't feel like a mood. It felt like a clue. Imagine spending 12 years chasing a single moment. Not a career, not a lifestyle. One moment. Every morning at 5 a.m. while everyone else is asleep. Every birthday skipped. Every relationship quietly moved to second place. And then the moment arrives. You're standing on a podium. The medal is cold and real in your hand. The anthem is playing. And you feel it. Exactly what you imagined you'd feel. For about 48 hours. And then researchers who tracked Olympic gold medalists found something that nobody expected. 6 months later, a significant number of them reported the worst psychological period of their lives. Not the ones who lost, the ones who won. And if you've ever achieved something you deeply wanted and felt that same hollow quiet afterward, you already know this feeling. You just never knew what was actually causing it. And the cause, when you understand it, doesn't just explain the emptiness. It explains something about you that goes much deeper than any goal you've ever chased. And the reason, when you actually understand it, doesn't just explain the emptiness. It explains something much bigger about who you are. But we'll get to that. Here's something your brain does that it never tells you about. Every time you decide you want something, really want it, the kind that reorganizes your life, your brain starts producing a feeling. Not when you get the thing, before, while you're still chasing. That feeling of purpose in the morning, the clarity of knowing exactly what you're working toward, the electricity of being someone who is becoming something. Your brain manufactures that feeling, and it feels like happiness, but it isn't happiness. It's anticipation. And anticipation and happiness feel identical until the moment the goal arrives. Because when it arrives, the anticipation has nowhere to go, and what's left is the real thing underneath, which is the question you've been avoiding. Who are you when you're not chasing anything? Most people never sit with that question long enough to answer it, because the answer is uncomfortable, and your brain knows that, so it does something very specific to protect you from it. When you spend months or years chasing a goal, something happens underneath the surface. So slowly you don't notice it. You stop being someone who wants the goal. You become someone who needs it. Not for the reward, for the identity. Think about what the chase actually gives you beyond the goal itself. It gives you a story. I'm someone who is building something. I'm someone who doesn't quit. I'm someone becoming the person I was meant to be. That story is not just motivation, it is who you are. And here's the part that breaks people. When you achieve the goal, you don't just get the thing, you lose the story. The athlete who wins gold doesn't just retire from competing, they retire from being a competitor. That's not a job title, that's an identity. And without it, they don't know what they are. The YouTuber who hits their milestone loses the sentence they've been saying to themselves every single day. I'm someone who is still building. The student who becomes a doctor loses the future self they've been running toward, and suddenly has to live as the person they were running toward, which feels nothing like they imagined, because the becoming, not the being, was where they actually lived. And now here's the part nobody talks about. This video isn't actually about happiness. I know that's what the title says. I know that's what you thought you came here for. But happiness was never really the question. The question was always, who am I? And the goal was your answer, not the achievement, the pursuit. The pursuit was the place where you made sense, where your daily actions had a clear meaning, where you could point at something and say, that's why I'm doing all of this. The goal wasn't the destination, it was the container, the thing holding your identity together while you were in the process of becoming. And when it's gone, the container breaks. And you feel it as emptiness. But it's not emptiness, it's exposure. You're not missing happiness, you're missing the story that told you who you were. Now here's something you've probably noticed but never connected to any of this. The moment you achieve one goal, you almost immediately start building another one. You thought that was ambition. It's not. It's reconstruction. Your brain lost its container, its story, its identity, and it needs a new one. So it builds a new goal. Not because you're greedy, not because you can't appreciate what you have, because a human being without a story they're living inside is a human being in psychological freefall, and the new goal stops the fall. This is why the most successful people you know are often the most restless. It's not that success made them hungry for more. It's that each achievement quietly dissolved the thing that was making them feel like themselves, and they needed to rebuild it over and over, and they called it ambition. But it was something older than that, something more fundamental. The need to exist inside a story that makes you feel worth something. So here's the question I want to leave you with. Not how do I enjoy success more? Not how do I appreciate what I have? Something harder. Who are you when you're not becoming anything? Not the version of you chasing a goal, not the version of you who just achieved one, the version underneath all of that. Because here's what I think most people never discover. The emptiness after achievement isn't a problem to fix. It's the only moment in your life when the story stops long enough for you to ask that question honestly. Most people spend their entire lives running from that emptiness. New goal, new chase, new story. But what if the emptiness was never the problem? What if it was the only honest moment, the only time the noise stops long enough for you to hear what's actually underneath? The finish line was never designed for stopping. It was designed for seeing. Seeing who you are when you're not performing for anyone, not even yourself. That's just why.